The views and content expressed on the following program are provided solely for informational and entertainment purposes. They do not constitute legal advice. A podcast is not a substitute for retaining a competent, licensed attorney to advise you on your specific legal situation.
Break the business, play is work and work is play. Power into creators, have fun along the way. Break the business, doing what it takes. Celebrate success and learn from the mistakes.
How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the show. It is time for Break the Business, where we empower indie creators and have some fun along the way. I'm Ryan Kairalla, and it is a pleasure to have you here this week. We are well into November at this point and getting to what I think we can legally start to call the holiday season, right? Mariah Carey, if she has not started singing already, is doing vocal warm-ups in the green room right now for another rendition of All I Want for Christmas Is You. And this is an exciting time for the entertainment industry. I think it's a time where we reflect on the year, but it's also a time of rest for many of us in this industry. I can tell you that in my own legal practice, when I represent creators, when we get to November, December, things calm down a little bit. The industry, at least the business side of the industry, can relax. Maybe some performers are playing Christmas shows and things like that. But for a lot of us in this industry, this is a time to take a breath, to reflect on the year, to practice some gratitude about the good things we have in our life, and to get ready for the new year ahead. And so to the extent that this program can help you with any of those things, we are privileged to do it, and we're excited to take you into this exciting, wonderful, festive time of year. And to help us with that beginning of our holiday season celebration, happy to have our co-host this week, Elisa Rockdock, is joining us. Hi, Elisa.
Hey, hello. Good to be back.
Good to have you here, my friend. This is a fun time, certainly in the Kairalla house. I'm excited for the holidays and what it brings. We recently moved, and that means we have a new blank canvas to put up holiday decorations this year. We have to figure out where to put all the new things or all the old things, and maybe get some new things to put in some places in the house. And it's exciting. I'm going to need some of your decoration tips, though. It's going to need an artistic touch, because that's certainly not something I'm going to give. And I'm going to be trying to get some consults from you on what I can do for the house. Our house has this atrium. I've shown you pictures of it, right? It's like this indoor window box thing. And I don't really think there's, I'm not sure what we can do with it for like 11 and a half months out of the year. Because, like, when am I going to put a plant in there? I don't know. But I feel like for Christmas, we could do some cool stuff with it, right? We put a tree in there, maybe like a little holiday festive setting, put some fake snow on the ground or something. Love to bring your creative mind to life, though, and to call upon you.
I'm just saying, one 12-foot skeleton with just a rotating set of decorations, just festive all year round. All year round.
You're telling me Home Depot skeleton that is going to be a permanent fixture.
Yes.
And we are just going to decorate the 12-foot skeleton, which might just be able to fit in that atrium if I kind of bend him down a little bit, get him in like a superhero landing crouch position. Might be able to fit him in there. And then so just whatever holiday it is, we just decorate him accordingly. So coming into December, give him a little Santa hat.
Bring up some lights and,
Okay. And then, Valentine's Day, like little Cupid wings on.
Yeah, Cupid vibes. And then, little pool party situation for the summer. Yeah, it'll be great.
I don't hate that. I could get behind that. And I'm also pretty excited just for what we're going to be doing for the next hour. Some pretty cool stories this week that I really feel like play to the stuff that you like to talk about. I tried to lay out some good Elisa bait this week with the topics, and I feel like I did a good job, including what I think is the favorite thing that we like to talk to you about whenever you join us, which is an Elisa Rock career update. And you have told me that among all of your times where you show up, where your updates are always pretty good, this is perhaps one of the more updatey weeks you have assured me that this is a pretty exciting time. Hey, producer Lauren, put that Elisa Rock career update banner down. We're just teasing the audience. This is what we in the radio business call a tease. Because you know what it is? I think producer Lauren
I want to know now.
Hang on, Veruca Salt. We're going to get to it. We got to feed everybody their vegetables before we get to the dessert. We got some important news that we want to talk to you about. We've got to inform the viewers and listeners this week before we get to the Elisa career update. And then following the Elisa career update in the second segment, we got a pretty cool guest this week, Elisa. We're going to be joined by singer-songwriter and American Idol alum Sabrina Monique. Really cool story here. If you love redemption arcs in your artists, if you love overcoming obstacles, if you love artists, seeing that the industry is trying to make them do one thing and they go, that ain't me, baby, and then doing their own thing, boy, you're going to like this artist coming up in the second segment, Sabrina Monique. This is going to be a blast. Excited for that coming up in the second segment. But first, Elisa, to some business matters. Wanted to talk to you first about a platform that we haven't really had a chance to talk about in a while, and kind of a shameful admission on my part, given how important it is to creators. But Twitch is in the news, and we have a pretty interesting update on Twitch, and I wanted to get your perspective on it. So let me give the viewers and listeners a bit of background on what some are calling the new Twitch adpocalypse. Earlier this month, Twitch modified its content policies to require that streamer content that involves political discussions must include a, quote, politics and sensitive social issues label. Streamers must include this label on Twitch on any content that discusses topics such as elections, protests, civil unrest, foreign policy, reproductive rights, immigration, gender, race, sexuality, and religion. In a recent post on X, Twitch said, quote, our goal here, as with any content classification label, is to give viewers and brands more info about what's happening on a particular stream so that they can make an informed decision about what to watch and where to engage. However, some political streamers on the platform have reported that the new label has led to some demonetization of their accounts. In a recent blog article in Passion Fruit, friend of the podcast Taylor Lorenz reported recently that one political Twitch streamer went from making $180 per Twitch stream to making just 50 cents per stream since the new classification label was created. Now, for the uninitiated, Elisa, we should mention that this idea of there being an adpocalypse, right? It harkens back to these ideas that sometimes when platforms like Twitch or YouTube create new content policies that allow content to be labeled in a certain way, that can cause some creators who have posts or content in that genre to lose ads because those advertisers maybe don't want to, have content that pertains to those labels. And so creators lose their some of their ad revenue. And so in this case, at least according to this article, one political Twitch streamer lost a lot of ad revenue because a bunch of brands said, well, I don't want my ads next to political content because maybe it's too high voltage for them. And so creators are losing revenue as a result. What have you heard about this, Elisa?
Yeah, so it's interesting because we're calling it an adpocalypse, but when comparing it to the YouTube adpocalypse, it seems to be a difference of both kind and degree. The YouTube adpocalypse was a situation in which brands were pulling out of YouTube en masse and releasing statements being like, we are not going to advertise on YouTube until they kind of fix some of their content moderation policies. And these are the kinds of things that lead and have led creators to soften their language. And this is how, we get words like unalive becoming part of the common lexicon, because we're trying to sort of skirt these systems so as to not get demonetized, not curse too much, things like this on YouTube. On Twitch, on the other hand, because it seems to be funneled through this one particular tag, which of course I have my own kind of misgivings about, considering the fact that even when I'm as a queer Puerto Rican woman who has studied literally gender as part of her academic work, it is going to be difficult for me to not talk about politics even when my stream is not tagged as such. Even when I'm playing something like Rocksmith, the personal is political, and I don't necessarily want to feel like I have to slap the political tag on it just by virtue of who I am and how I exist in this world. But on Twitch, it's not a sort of general it's not like Pepsi is pulling its ads. It's not like Mountain Dew is pulling all its ads, because it ain't. I'm getting plenty of Taco Bell ads still. It's more funneling through this tag system. And once the tag is removed, you tend to get your monetization back. So it's not necessarily this sort of big mass exodus of advertisers. It's just a sort of note that some advertisers will not want to put their ad spend on streams that are labeled as such. Now, that is a problem for broadcasters like, say, a Hassan Piker. But then again, a lot of folks have a big enough audience that they're able to sort of monetize on their own absent ads. And I think one of the biggest lessons here, not to sort of jump into conclusion mode, is that this would be a huge lesson, even if it's not some big, huge exodus and you're going to lose all of your demonetization, which is not necessarily what this is. What it is a lesson to creators about is in not putting all of your eggs in one basket. It is to check all of your agreements and make sure that maybe you don't have an exclusivity with Twitch so that you can diversify your revenue streams, stream also on YouTube, stream also on Volume, and all of these other platforms, and also turn your attention to direct consumer payments. Because at the moment, Twitch has even raised their subscription rates to the point where if you open up, say, a Patreon account or a coffee account or some other kind of crowdfunding thing, those rates might be cheaper for folks to pay you on a monthly basis than a Twitch sub now, than maybe even a YouTube sub now. So I would take this as a lesson, depending on the severity of said adpocalypse, which I don't think is going to be as severe as YouTube's. I would make sure that you own all of your own content, save all of your VODs, don't put all of your eggs in one platform's basket, don't rely on advertiser revenue as kind of being a sole source of your income, especially as brands are very, 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 very shy and very, very risk averse. They are interested in making money, and they're interested in, and Twitch is interested in making money off of them. Notice that nowhere in that conversation is you, the creator. So protect yourself, protect your content, and protect your monetization streams, because your money is not necessarily the money that these companies care about. So protect yourself.
And to your point earlier about you feeling some reservation about being able to talk about your own lived experiences such that they might intersect with political issues. Twitch has put out a statement, to be fair, that has said that you don't need to attach this label to your stream if you're talking about your lived experience. Like if you are talking about your life as a queer person, you don't have to slap the politics label on that. I guess it's more of just if you're discussing these things in this, through the direct lens of trying to influence political discourse. We can, of course, it's a whole separate conversation about why people's identity, sexuality is politics and not just like, don't treat me poorly. Like the fact that, how we treat others has become a political issue in the same way, like should taxes be a little bit higher, a little bit lower is kind of, irritating in its own way, but I suppose that's a separate discussion. I do understand the perspective of brands in that, you don't want, as you said, they're very shy. They don't really know how this crazy Twitch world works. And they're afraid of their ad being next to some highly disagreeable political content. So I get the perspective where it comes from. I am a little concerned about just the overall impact this does have on indie creators, and even more globally than that, what it means for our discourse. We just had an election a couple weeks ago, and from what I have read from people a lot smarter than me when it comes to politics, is that one of the reasons why the red team did better than the blue team a couple weeks ago is because the red team was able to make inroads in platforms like podcasting and live streaming toward younger voters in a way that the blue team hasn't, that is still kind of relying more on mainstream media, legacy media to get its message out. And so as somebody who wants to see just better politics happen, I don't like the idea of a lot of young indie political content creators getting shut out of this system early because platforms like Twitch are making it inhospitable for them. We need a generation of political talkers to be able to cut their teeth on platforms like Twitch, to be able to move up and excel on platforms like Twitch so that we can have a richer discourse, a more politically diverse discourse on these platforms so that young people aren't just hearing one particular message.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. And I think what I have sort of seen, any kind of large company is going to sort of take their time. But I do know that Twitch does have a tendency to respond relatively quickly to things like this. And I feel like, especially with the kind of C-suite they have, it is entirely possible that they will be a little bit more maybe receptive to creator feedback, but who knows? They're also a corporation. They're owned by Amazon. So who cares? I hate to be a sort of like pessimist nihilist, but like legitimately, like much love to all the people that work inside those buildings, but the corporations themselves do not care about you or what you have to say, as long
or
as
trying to create like a less toxic, more enriching political discourse. That's not in their mission statement.
No. It's eyeballs and it's advertising dollars. And if they can't put advertising dollars because you're making people uncomfortable or some sort of revolutionary, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I think the problem is that what ends up happening when so much of the discussion gets so polarizing, it's like, okay, we can't talk about it at all. Yeah. Nobody can talk about it at all. And not only can nobody talk about it at all, I can't make money off of talking about it. And I think when we sort of like have those wide sweeping things, we tend to lose a lot of good discussion. And also it would be great to have better moderation tools so that even just a regular degular music stream ain't toxic. You know what I mean? So as much as there's an attempt to sort of guide content and guide policies, I'm not necessarily certain that these are the most This might be more of like a sledgehammer than a scalpel approach to sort of fixing whatever problem they aimed to fix by introducing this sort of tag ad system.
Are you suggesting that big tech is not taking a narrow surgical approach to solving a problem, but instead is being heavy-handed in a way that hurts small creators? That doesn't sound like the big tech I know.
Right? Which is so bizarre.
It's
just so weird.
A rare misfire by big tech overreacting to a problem. Like it's just weird. I've never known them to act like that before. Particularly in a way that's just so burdensome to our discourse and to content creators. Man, I miss the simpler time when the content debates we were having on Twitch, didn't like have democracy hanging in the balance, but it was just more, can people in bikinis sit in a hot tub while doing a Twitch live stream, right? It was a simpler, more innocent time. Now it's like, can political discussions happen on a platform in a way that's going to positively affect democratic discourse? Like we need the innocence of people in bikinis and hot tubs again. That's all I'm saying.
I miss those days.
It makes me look fondly about like the way that a lot of web platforms and social media platforms were, say, 10 years ago even. And which is why I find myself getting kind of excited about what I have been seeing on the platform Blue Sky. I like many people on X who have found that platform to be just increasingly toxic and destructive and just particularly deleterious to my own mental health. I heard some good things about Blue Sky, a alternative to X. And what it was sold to me as from what I was reading online was, hey, did you like Twitter, say, 8 years ago? Mm-hmm. And I'm like, yeah, sure did. That was a pretty fun place to be. A lot of my favorite people were there. I could actually see their tweets if I followed them and not just the tweets of a bunch of like weird bots that I didn't care about. Blue Sky was like, well, then come to Blue Sky. We got it for you. And luckily, so I created a Blue Sky account only to find my friend Elisa Rockdock already there and having some fun. And so I already felt like, right at home. Created an account and, was, and I've enjoyed myself on the platform so far. You can follow me at Ryan Kairalla at Blue Sky. At whatever the hell, like the handles are so damn long on Blue Sky. Just search my name, you'll find me, people. And it does have some like Twitter 2017 vibes to it, and so I do appreciate that. It does seem just less toxic because it is a smaller community, and from what I've heard, it's growing. I read a report recently that Blue Sky's daily active users just surpassed Threads. Which is kind of amazing because Threads is Meta. It's this massive platform with, thousands upon thousands of employees. And from what I've heard, Blue Sky is 20 employees working for a public benefit corporation, operating a platform remotely that from every indication is being held together by the digital equivalent of spit and duct tape. So you've been on the platform longer, Rockdock. Yeah. What are your impressions of it so far? And what possibilities do you think it presents for indie creators?
Yeah, so I've been on Blue Sky since the days of the Hell thread. If you know, you know. There was this one thread that for some reason, if you commented on it and you were part of the thread, you couldn't unhook yourself from the thread and you would constantly get notified. So it was like it was just one thread that was just a party in there until I think it might have been the CEO or someone like personally took a weekend to try to like literally untangle the Hell thread. So I've been on there for a while as they've been trying to kind of figure out their way. And it's been, I started it up back when it was like, invites only. I just wanted to squat on something new, especially since Elon bought Esk and, like basically sank it almost immediately. And took a break from it because it felt like I was kind of like talking to no one as as it happened in like a lot of other kind of social media alternatives that have popped up in the years since. But especially now, it has that energy of when I used to post, when I was just starting off on Twitter, just starting as a freelance writer, getting kind of like quick tweets off and kind of building a little bit of an audience that way. It is interesting because it is very user controlled. You can block anyone. The block feature works way better on Blue Sky than it does on X now. There are block lists. There are starter packs. If you are looking for people to follow, there's a feature called starter packs where folks curate a list of folks to follow in tabletop gaming spaces. I joined a starter pack that was all like game dev narrative designers and writers, and could just follow a bunch of people in that category in an instant, which I think would be a great thing for smaller creators, especially because it's not flooded with ads. It's not flooded with ads. It's not forcing a bunch of random stuff in for you that you did not ask for. It is literally like the people you follow back. You can have multiple feeds of things. You can basically curate your experience so that it is not as detrimental to your mental health to surf. Now, I do, because it is social media and it's designed to be engaging and keep you hooked, I do find myself not doom scrolling per se, but like a little more of the joy scrolling. So I do have to maybe like curb myself still a little bit, especially as it's so exciting. But when it comes to smaller creators, I would highly suggest any social media, especially anyone that has attracted enough traction for mainstream news outlets to start writing about it. Squat on your username, on your brand, whatever it is, on every social media alternative platform up to and including Blue Sky. That's just general rule of thumb. But take the opportunity that it is kind of small, but it is gaining steam, to make those connections. Hashtags actually work well in order to kind of search for people. So I think you're going to have an easier time potentially on Blue Sky at this current state to find other folks in whatever artistic industry you're in and make those connections and network. And it's a way better landscape because you can post about things, you can post about your work, and you're not going to get a bunch of like reply guys or well actuallys and stuff. The culture, the sort of general culture that is trying to be maintained at Blue Sky, is one where there are no reply guys, no well actuallys. You leave that toxic at the other website. We are building a new world. We'll see how long it lasts.
I mean, I love that idea that hopefully Blue Sky could be a great networking tool for creators. Like if there's any aspect of like 2017 Twitter that I hope Blue Sky can be, it's the networking potential for it, right? I mean, how much of like what you've accomplished professionally, Elisa, do you attribute to connections you made on Twitter 10 years ago?
1,000%. I would not have gotten the job that moved me out of Miami had I not been a prolific poster. I do believe I have a poster's heart. It is black and shriveled and beautiful. I do believe I have a poster's heart. And it was literally a friend of a friend who was like, I have this position and I see the way you are on social media and I can trust you with the following. I can trust you to write. You're not a toxic person, whatever. And I like your style. Could you, do social media professionally for us? So that was like literally how it happened. And I do believe that social media still has the opportunity to be that kind of thing for people still. It is a tool. It's all in how you use it. Don't break this one. Please. It's nice.
Please
don't break this guy.
The elder millennials are begging you.
It's so nice in there. And to anybody who's like, oh, it's just like an echo chamber, it's just like a touchy-feely thing. Do you willingly hang out with people you hate all the time? No. No, I'm not trying to like hang out in the marketplace of ideas with people that hurl slurs at me. No, thank you. I want to hang out with my friends.
Absolutely. And again,
So-
if you want like if you want like the world of vitriol and quote unquote free speech, if that's how you define it, there's already a platform for you. It's a smoldering wreckage of what it was 10 years ago, but it's still there if you want it. Let us enjoy Blue Sky. And what you were able to sort of build 10 years ago networking on the erstwhile Twitter has kind of continued to culminate into what you accomplish now, where you come on this program once a week and tell us the cool stuff that you're doing in your career. So let's do an Elisa Rock career update, because you've told me that you got a pretty cool update this week.
Yay! So this is the Elisa Rock career update.
It's good imaging.
I am very, very excited. I don't know if I've actually announced this because I have the memory of a goldfish when it comes to like things I talk about on the show. But for those that are planning on being in the Maryland, DMV, etc. area between January 23rd and 26th, 2025, I am happy to announce that I am coming back to MagFest, folks. That is the Music and Gaming Festival. It has been a couple of years since I've been, and I'm very, very happy to be back, not only as a guest with my own office hours panel where you can come ask questions, and Devin might bring his acoustic guitar for a couple of tunes. But I'm also really excited to link back up with the MAGES program, which is the Music and Gaming Educational Symposium. As if this wasn't geeky enough, it's basically a group of people that are studying music and video games academically and are coming together to essentially almost create a little bit of a mini conference at a video game convention. So I'm very, very excited to link up with those folks, be a part of MagFest. All sorts of voice acting and academic shenanigans and musical shenanigans will abound, or else my name is not Elisa Rock Doc. So I'm very, very excited to be back at MAG. 24-hour convention. Can you imagine, Ryan, being able to play 4-player X-Men at like 3:00 in the morning? That's life at MAG.
Don't threaten me with a good time. I call Colossus, of course.
Yeah, so like in addition to music and gaming, I have felt like a little bit of a fraud lately, because I'm doing all of these, like cannabis dispensary and regional wireless commercials, which, hey, paycheck is great. Love to do medical narration. Love that paycheck. Love it. But I do feel at home when I'm a video game character, because I feel like a video game character IRL. So can I tell you that there is a game that is out in early access on PC right now, and it is coming to the Epic Games Store sometime potentially in Q4 of this year, in which I voice not one, but 7, I think, characters. I am in a video game.
Oh,
You can hear me in video games again, y'all.
you heard it here, viewers and listeners. Elisa Rock Doc, Tyrene Calypso's triumphant return to video game voice acting. This is so cool. Please, details, or this isn't like an NDA situation, right? Can you tell me something about this?
Yeah, so the game is out in early access. It was kind of funny because I just sort of kept Googling one of my characters' names, and the only thing that kept popping up was like the name of an ocean liner, some sort of cargo ship that apparently had the same name, until this week, when I caught a video of a live play of this game. It's called Voyager Ascension. It is called a 6 Degrees of Freedom game, but it's essentially where you're in a ship, you're flying around, you're shooting at stuff, and you have 6 degrees of freedom, which means that you're not just sort of tilting this way and up and down and stuff. You have like all of your area at your disposal. So if you're kind of one of those kind of like, I don't know, Star Fox.
I was about to say, I'm getting Star Fox vibes from that.
Yeah, it might be vibe. And then you're kind of like discovering all these different things that have happened in this world through a series of audio logs. And I play anything from scientists to archaeologists, to one of my favorite things. It is something that I have wanted to be ever since I watched the movie The Andromeda Strain. I've always wanted to be an emergency alert noise, and I get to be an emergency alert noise.
I mean, that's a good fit. Like your voice plays to emergency alert quite well. Like that must have been a swift audition for you. I can't imagine somebody coming over you on that. Oh my God. I mean, sci-fi and Elisa Rockdock's in it, and it's like space sci-fi. Like, this is speaking to me. I am beyond excited for this.
Yep. So keep tabs at the Epic Games Store for Voyager Ascension.
Voyager Ascension.
Ascension.
And you said it's an early release, early beta.
Yep, it's in early access on PC right now. And if you enjoy the vocal stylings of Helen Marlowe, Dr. Nicola Francesco, Nora Hegem, Rachel Bennett, Alex Quinn, Celeste Nova, or that emergency alert, that's me.
I want to get our community into this. I mean, can we live stream this? Like, I want to do some stuff around this. This sounds really, really fun. I'm so thrilled for you, and I think this is great. What did producer Lauren just put up here? Oh, is this from the game?
I think we have a clip. I'm not sure how the levels are going to sound because I didn't check this, but we'll try.
Let's just run with it. Let's just run with it. I want to hear this.
In the asteroid belt. Pavlish, this is Celeste Nova, Chief Exploration Officer, Xenoarchaeology Consortium. Be advised, on 8/27 we received the following message from the Saturnian system.
Jenkins here. Something's going wrong. We're under attack. Bots are very hostile. They seem to be feeding off reactor cores. The support system's failing. Can't get to the cryotubes.
We have completed a thorough analysis of the outpost and identified a threat response. In response to Jenkins's message and the massacre at Emir, the board of directors has terminated the Saturnian System Xenoarchaeology project. Your orders of functioning equipment and initiate a cascade shutdown of the main reactors of all facilities in the outpost. That was a chunky paragraph.
Oh my God. I love a good cascade shutdown.
That was a chunky paragraph. But it did it. It was really, really fun. I auditioned.
Your lungs almost went into cascade shutdown there.
I auditioned for a bunch of characters. I got cast for 3, and then when I showed up at the gig, they're like, all right, you're gonna be Celeste Nova, these 2 people. And also we have these like other 4. Do you have time? And I'm like, yeah, do I? Yeah. Let's go. So it's really, really good to be back in video games. It's a whole medical narration and video. It's a whole different universe, although some of the words are as multisyllabic and complicated to say in both realms. But it's good to be back in video games, y'all. Feels good.
I am so excited. I can't wait to dive right into this, and you can be assured that I will. Congratulations again. Let's take a quick break, and then we're going to be joined by Sabrina Monique here on Break the Business. Don't go anywhere. Break the Business is presented in cooperation with Ryan Kairalla, PA. Ryan Kairalla, PA is a law firm providing transactional entertainment legal services, including contracts, business formation, commercial law, copyright, trademark, and more. Ryan Kairalla, PA, Miami, Florida. rkpalaw.com.
Streaming services for Break the Business provided by LEK Entertainment. LEK Entertainment is a full-service entertainment company offering everything from consultations to full-scale events and productions, including audio and video productions, voiceovers, staged theatrical productions, script and music development, and streaming services. For more information, visit lekentertainment.com. LEK Entertainment wants to help you bring your story to life.
Thanks for supporting Break the Business. If you have a question or topic that you want us to discuss, email us at breakthebusiness@gmail.com. You can follow the host, that's me, on Twitter at Ryan Kair, and you can follow the show at the BTB Podcast. Be sure to subscribe to the show on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook, and on all major podcast platforms. And now, let's get back to the show. Just looking at some artwork from Voyager Ascension here on my other computer. Oh, it looks cool. I'm pretty excited. Welcome back to Break the Business, everybody. Ryan Kairalla here with Elisa Rockdock. What is that behind you? Did you change your background on me?
No.
Oh,
When?
Oh no! Oh, I was just like, I don't know, the lighting looked different or whatever. All right, never mind. We're good. All right. So excited to have you joining us wherever you're joining us these holiday seasons, whether you're checking us out on volume.com, our primo live streaming partner, or on SiriusXM 145 or on all major podcast platforms, Twitch, wherever you're checking us out. We're so glad that you are, and we're happy for the good vibes you're bringing. Let's go ahead and bring in our guest this week.
Outsiders into the light, step by step with endless might. Dreams were heavy, now they fly. Sabrina star will always shine. Breaking limits, rising high. Wings of strength, they touch the sky. Through the storm and past the rain, Sabrina neatly leads the way.
Our guest this week is a New York-based pop artist and American Idol alum who has been featured in American Songwriter Magazine, Pop Off, and Wonderland Magazine. Her new album, It's Not Me, It's You, dropped on September 27th and is available on all major music platforms. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting SabrinaMonique.com. We are happy to welcome Sabrina Monique on To Break the Business. Hello there, Sabrina.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. Hey.
Excited to be chatting with you. We love every time we get to be joined by an American Idol alum. The stories you all bring, the careers you all have pre and post Idol is just, it makes for great discussion. We're thrilled to be chatting with you. The last American Idol alum we had on the show, Sabrina, was David Cook, who was from the previous incarnation of the show, back when I was much younger than I am now and had a lot more hair. But I remember one of the things that David said about being on American Idol was, for all of its burdens, and certainly, a lot about being on that show can be stressful, and certainly the time after that show, he did say that it was some of the best training that he's ever received. And I'm wondering, did you have kind of a similar experience on the program?
I will always say that it's one of the best experiences I've ever done. I'm so grateful to have been on that show, just to be collaborative with so many amazing artists and with the judges at the time. I'm so grateful. Yeah, the training, absolutely. Just being around so many young creatives and people are so well versed in this craft. It really is. I was just like a sponge there trying to absorb as much as I can. So definitely can vouch for the fact that it's, one of the best experiences I've ever done.
Do you have any cool or crazy stories about some particularly legendary music professional giving you like a piece of advice or just, a note that's kind of stuck with you either positively or negatively?
Definitely. So actually in the beginning of my audition, I, was singing, it went really well. And at the time I was auditioning for Lionel Richie, Katy Perry, and Luke Bryan. So, so great performers that I've idolized my whole entire life. Katy Perry, I grew up listening to her music. So just to be in that room was incredible. And in the midst of my audition, it was going really well. And, Lionel Richie and Katy kind of, stopped at midway and they're like, you know what, we know that you really got it. We love your sound, but we want to hear more of you. So I don't even know how it happened because everything happened so fast in that room. But all of a sudden, me and Katy Perry are singing together and we're just riffing back and forth. And, she's, trying to pull all this vocal stuff out of me. And it was incredible. Some of the best singing I've ever done. And ironically enough, it was with Katy Perry. And it was, just at the time, I was like, what is going on? I have no idea. But here I am. I'm rolling with it. So definitely was really cool. In the midst of my audition, it just kind of turned around completely and became this wonderful, growing experience. And I think that's what actually, got me on the show and gave me my yeses. So that was from day one, it was just, an awesome experience.
That really speaks to your strength as like a performer and a human, Sabrina, because if I was ever auditioning for something and the note I got back was try to be more you, like I would immediately just find the darkest corner to hide and or die in, because like I'm sure in the initial moment you probably think to yourself, That was me. I was trying to do me there.
Right. What does that mean? Okay, sure. So
Like, was I not being me before?
exactly. So it's definitely was one of those things where I was like, okay, sure, you got it. And what are you supposed to say to Katy Perry? Like, I'm sorry, can you clarify? No, you're not. You're just gonna keep going. So it was definitely wild. Yeah, that my thoughts exactly.
Good on you. So your biography is kind of compelling. You have a lot of moments in your life that as I'm reading about, I'm like, whoa, that's pretty exciting. I need to learn more about it. I'd like for you to start, if you could, by taking us to your life at 17. So from what I read about you, at that age, you were skipping school to go on auditions, and you were moving into a Midtown Manhattan apartment with, I believe, 12 other girls to try to break into the industry. Like, what is Sabrina Monique doing at age 17 other than like stuff that sounds really rad?
Right. And
Like, other than living every one of like what we dreamed we could have done at 17.
First of all, thank you so much. And I'll preference it with it was definitely very rad and definitely rambunctious. It was wild. Yeah, so 17, I mean, I love and hate that, like, you know, the skipping school thing is so prominent because I really, unfortunately, did skip school, but not for malintent. I was skipping school, not, you know, tremendously. I hate to say this, but I lived very close to the city to where I could, and my parents' house was so close to a train station where I could hop on the train, go down to the city in an hour and audition. So if an opportunity had arose or I saw something, I would, you know, check into class and then leave and hop on that train and head down to the city. So for me, definitely junior, senior year, I was trying really hard to already get into the business and leave my, you know, small little suburban town and get down to New York. And by the time I had graduated high school, I think 2 months later, I was moved down in New York and I moved into a very like artistic housing style. I went to a conservatory college, the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, which was amazing. And while I was there, I did live in a 6-bedroom apartment where there were 2 girls to a room because it's the only way you can pay for anything in New York City at the time when you're 17, 18 years old, trying to pay for school and college, etc. So I lived with 12 girls and everybody's an artist and a performer. And it was the best of times and the worst of times. It was incredible, but definitely when I look back on some of the most, you know, fondest memories that I have, they are of those times, you know, those crazy, chaotic times living with a bunch of artists whom I love dearly. And, it definitely was something that I'm so grateful that I've got to experience, just hearing like, oh, you know, we never got to do that. Like, thank you so much for saying that, because I feel like you always hear, you know, your parents or your senior whomever say, you know, those are the best years, or, you know, you don't realize, you know, how great you have it. And truly in that moment, you don't. So looking back on it, it really was an amazing time in my life.
See, I'm looking into Elisa Rockdock's eyes right now, and all she's thinking about is like, man, like she probably would have wanted to do some of those things when she was 17. I feel like, Elisa, the only reason why you might have had such a good attendance record in high school is that you grew up in Miami and our public transportation sucks so bad that there was no like train to get you somewhere where you could skip school and go to auditions.
Yeah, I couldn't drive, so I couldn't leave campus. So I was kind of stuck.
That's the only reason you might have stayed in school, because like otherwise, like you're looking at Sabrina, you're like, I'm taking notes. This sounds pretty awesome. Living in a Manhattan apartment with 11 other people, going to auditions. I don't want to do that now.
For the record, I don't recommend skipping school. Everybody, please stay in school. Go to school.
Stay in school, kids. We know. Don't worry. All right. So another part of your biography that I find pretty compelling is something of a familiar story that I hear with a lot of the guests that come on this program, because this program does celebrate indie creators and artists who sort of find their own voice. And as a result, we tend to interview a lot of creative professionals who maybe tried to go down the more traditional music industry path, the record label, cookie cutter, fit you into a box kind of setup, and then saw the perils of that approach, how it can be unhealthy, it can be dangerous, it can be professionally destructive. And I know you experienced a lot of that and thankfully came out on the other side of it. Can you talk about some of your struggles and your experiences with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that at the end of the day, and I always say this, and I said this at the beginning of my career when I first started doing this, and I'll say this now, and this is 10 years later. I don't really know exactly what the right thing to do, what the right step to take is. And especially when I'm young and first breaking into this industry, I had absolutely no idea what I was doing. So I just wanted to do the right thing, whatever that was, whatever I thought that was, whatever other people were telling me that was or what I should do. And you just, you want to make a name for yourself. You want people to hear your music. You think, or whatever's on the radio, you want it to sound like that. You have absolutely no idea truly who you are. You're trying to make a name for yourself, and other people are also trying to do the same thing for you. And I think, I used to judge myself a lot for some of maybe the material I've put out, some of the things I've done, written. But at the end of the day, I really was just trying to do what I thought was right at the time. And what I found growing in this industry and as, a young adolescent and young woman, what have you, I found that I kind of lost sense of the joy of why I was doing this in the first place, because I wasn't writing music for myself at all anymore, which is where it all started. I was writing music for what I thought was going to, gain momentum, something people can monetize, use as a TikTok sound, or something that my, manager would think would be, good enough to put this playlet, what have you. I was, getting a lot of feedback, and I realized that I was totally out of touch with anything emotionally connected to the songs, to the lyrics, to the storytelling. There just was absent. I was writing music that felt like a shell of a song, which then reflected to me feeling like a shell of a person. Writing this, just generic, very, bass pop line music, which at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not putting that down, and I love my stuff. Don't get me wrong. And there's nothing I, regret whatsoever. Everything is a learning experience, and every song is, a reflection of something going on with me. But some of the stuff that I, was going through at the time and putting out at the time were just not in connection with anything that was just rooted in why I had done this in the first place. So I took a step back from writing and releasing music for almost 1.5 to 2 years. And I really had to refocus. And it took me, almost 1.5, 2 years to put out this album, because I wanted it to be so, how could I say this? So conductive and conducive to who I am as a person now. And I also wanted to show that growth and that arc of where I kind of started and who I am as an artist now, which is why some of the songs that are on the album are actually remakes of songs that I've released years and years ago, because I, always felt connected to what I was writing, but it wasn't truly me and what I wanted to sound like. So, I did even change lyrics and change songs and kind of rewrote them and put them out in the album, because I really wanted to pay homage to the person that I was and the artist that I am now, which is all the growth that I had to do. And I guess it's kind of true. You have to lose yourself to gain yourself. And I lost myself in the music that was not true to me whatsoever. So it did take, me taking a step back to really redirect and kind of come back to where this all came from in the beginning. So that's what this album truly is. It's me taking my power back in, kind of things that I've experienced in the industry, which is prevalent in some of those songs where, I was young and impressionable and made many mistakes and listened to people, and I was put in, situations that were not beneficial to my development. So I really did take that time to craft a wonderful, wonderful piece of artwork, which is the album It's Not Me, It's You. So I'm so proud of that. But it did take kind of losing to gain that.
Yeah, and I definitely heard that listening to the album. I especially really liked, of course, like You, Me, and Your Ego, and then the two of y'all gotta go. Like, I was like, yes, that's so good. But also I really identified with like Love Again Part 2. And I think I really felt that connection, because sometimes it's nice to have that sort of like I wish you well song. But I really liked the sort of idea that like, not only do I need you, but like, I'm also like taking care of myself. My cup is full. And that part also really, really resonated with me. So could you talk about some of those themes that you brought up on this album?
Yeah. Thank you so much for that. Yeah, it definitely was something that I really wanted to make sure that people would be able to see that and recognize that, and that, you know, let's be real. I entitled this album, It's Not Me, It's You. But in these songs, in these stories, you could totally tell that I, you know, can take a lot of blame for the behavior that I accepted. And a lot of this is, you know, nobody's perfect. There's toxicity in both ends, you know, and it's not just about relationships, it's friendships, it's you know, familial ties, etc. But, you know, I'm in no way, shape, or form claiming to be perfect. I think the beauty of this is the deconstructive nature to some of these songs and the growth that you see in all of it. It's, you know, kind of not perfectly polished, but that's what makes it so perfect to me. And thank you for seeing that growth. I really appreciate that in your words. So thank you.
Yeah, and I mean, as soon as I popped on You, Me, and Your Ego, and I heard that acoustic guitar, I was like, yes, bring acoustic guitar back, please.
Yeah.
Please.
Thank you.
No, I hear you 100%. I'm trying.
It's so good. In terms of like the idea of like making music for yourself versus trying to chase the algorithm, which is so hard nowadays for an artist to kind of separate themselves because you want to get heard. So you're kind of fighting against these systems that are often working against you. How do you protect kind of your creative piece, I guess, like as a songwriter?
Right. I think you have to just be a little delusional in a way. And by that, I mean, you just have to understand that there is no rhyme or reason or fact to anything. There really isn't. And I think to just have expectations for anything is where you then oftentimes get disappointed. So I think just to be like delusional in the fact that I believe in me 100% is the best way to handle anything and everything. And I, you know, I strongly believe like whatever is meant will never pass by. So as long as I am creating and putting out there, I'm really doing it for me at the end of the day, which is why I had to take that step back and come to this again. So whatever happens is meant to be and will be. And I think that just like staying in your own, you know, delusional bubble of, you know, I am an artist, imposter syndrome doesn't have to affect me. And, you know, the people that will be there will gravitate to it, and you're putting it out there for you. And there are people out there who will resonate it like you, who will understand. And that's all that I can ask for at the end of the day, is that someone out there is connecting, and that is okay with me. You know, that's all I could ask for.
So it sounds like your approach to the algorithm is you're just not going to be driven by it at all. You're using your own authenticity as just kind of a North Star, and if the algorithm responds to it, it responds to it.
I mean, yes. So I'm only saying that because when I was trying to create for the algorithm, it drove me crazy. So I think that to chase the algorithm is superfluous, and just do for you and create. Just create, and then that's all you can really do.
I definitely appreciate that, and I feel like part of the shift in your perspective, where you spent kind of the early part of your career trying to please others, whether it's a label, whether it's a tech algorithm, to where you are today, which is, you know, trying to be your most authentic self as an artist. I feel like the inflection point where that shift must have happened and that must have played a role in that shift was the pandemic, because, you know, a lot of what you were talking about in the early part of your career was sort of pre-2020, and a lot of what you've done since has been post-2020. So I imagine that the pandemic must have played a role in that shift for you. Am I right?
Yeah, definitely. I think it played, you know, not just for me, but for everybody in this field. And, you know, I look at that time as the biggest blessing, because the only thing I could do was go to a studio by myself with somebody else who was in a separate room mixing something else. Like, we were totally secluded, and I just wrote. And I had time to sit with myself and really reflect on everything that had been put out everything that I was going to put out, my plan of action, the songs that I had written, the things in the pipeline, the trajectory of where we were going. And that's the time where I had, everything kind of laid out in front of me, where I was able to just say, whoa, what's going on? So it was probably one of the most illuminating times in my career, which I feel horrible saying because it was one of the most catastrophic times in society. But it was one of the most, it was a harvesting time for me because I had to really sit with a lot of things and I had a lot of realizations. And that's what was the driving force for me to take a step back and completely redirect and take back the reins on everything that I was doing at the time. So you're absolutely correct. Without the pandemic, I don't know exactly what path I would be on musically and artistically. So I'm very grateful for that break, because if it wasn't for that break, I'm not quite sure kind of where I would have fell into, like what category or exactly, what I would have followed. So definitely monumental for me.
We are joined by Sabrina Monique. Her new album, It's Not Me, It's You, is available now on major music platforms. You can find out more about our guest's work by visiting sabrinamonique.com. Elisa, do you want to go ahead and just give Sabrina our final question?
Sure. Of course. One thing that we love to ask all of our gorgeous guests, do you have any last tips for the indie creators out there to move their careers forward?
Absolutely. I always say this. Lead with your heart and don't pay mind to what anybody else tells you to do. You are your own spearhead and you are the creator. So drive with your own force and nobody else's.
Your career has been a pretty good testament to that lesson. Thank you for not only imparting that as advice, but living that advice in what you're doing now with your career. Our thanks to Sabrina Monique, Elisa Rocktalk. Our thanks to producer Lauren. And of course, our thanks to all of our viewers and listeners for checking out Break the Business. We'll see you next week.